Hey everyone, welcome to the 6th anniversary global exclusive podcast episode. With me today, I have a special guest that you might have heard before on this podcast. His name is Shadow. Hey Shadow.
I was here last year. What last week? What are you talking about?
You were definitely here last year, like for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And of course, our or my beautiful better half, Dream. Hey Dream.
Hello. I'm not sure I like
Wait,
that description, but
but Dream promised me her half to me. This is
Listen,
unfair.
listen, Dream. If you don't want to be my better half, you can be my worse half. It's perfectly okay. Like I was trying to say a nice thing, but fine.
I feel like I'm a whole person by myself.
Really? So few are, though. Good for you. Good for you.
Or at the very least, I don't think I need any of you.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Listen,
Getting
I
out.
will have you know. Whatever. Let's start this episode.
Yeah, we have content to get through, so let's probably get into it because we've got a couple interesting banners this week for anniversary. Double global exclusive. We've got Esther's supportive wife and some scaly dude who feels weirdly like he might enjoy raiding tombs.
So, first of all, I need to ask, did any of you fuckers actually look at the story event and, get the story for this half dragon dude?
No.
I have not had the chance to play it yet.
All right. Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
skip cutscenes like a
I
creep.
kind of skipped it just for the lapis, so I don't really know what the deal is. But like scanning some of the cutscenes is kind of like it feels like Esther and Sylvie, they are just like strolling through some type of field, adventuring, and then the dude shows up. That's all I know about the story. So there you go, listeners. That's now you know.
I do think that it is my headcanon that Sylvie and Esther were released on LGBTQ like queer month, so therefore they're queer together. Therefore, it is canon,
Absolutely.
and Gumi have
It's canon.
intentionally released them on today, June 30th, for that reason. So
Shadow, if
same.
nothing else, it's canon because I say so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so
the power of the mind. All right. So we have weird half dragon dude, and of course Esther and Sylvie. So Dream. Tell us, why is Esther on a banner again?
So I think it's mainly because Sylvie gives some upgrades to Esther when they're in the same party. Her wife's presence empowers her. So yeah, she's freshly upgraded and now has a bit of a slightly cheaper chance to get her compared to her original banner.
Right. So maybe we should talk about her wife then. So like, what is this version of Sylvie?
So it really does feel like the Sylvie is an upgraded version of her old kit. It's like
really is.
primarily defensive stuff plus strong element support for wind, or not wind, earth and lightning. Her light support has been cut down, but fair enough, she's got tons of other stuff. And then like great morale fill, good stat buffs, spammable LB, MP, and morale fill, which is all handy to have for filling those off turns. Massive killers for a few races. Yeah,
LB
it's just
modifier
a very,
buffs.
very complete package of tons of different buffs.
Yeah, like with Sylvie, you kind of
Very strong.
struggle to find a thing she doesn't do at the very top of the meta. Like she doesn't tank, I guess.
She doesn't tank despite her very high defensive stats.
Right. And of course, like, well, it depends, like she also has a 20k barrier. But she doesn't tank, and I guess she doesn't do damage unless, you count her damage support as damage, which I guess you shouldn't. Yeah. She's a support. But everything else she does as the very highest tier of the meta right now and breaks the meta. Like, Dream, you're being a bit nice. I would say Sylvie is fucking broken. She is so strong.
It's anniversary power creep season, and you know what? I'm proud of her.
Yeah, she did this.
I think if you look back on every anniversary, they had a power creep unit, and this isn't really out of the character.
It's pretty commonly a big spike.
Hold on, was it like last anniversary fucking Yoshikiri and Elena?
No, last anniversary was Louise and Ling.
Oh, Louise and Ling. Oh, okay, yeah. Louise was good. Like, Like,
No, both Louise and Ling actually, like, at that time, were quite pivotal both in TV and Cal and for a long time too. Like, if you think about Ling, she lasted literally 8 months in most top teams.
Louise's
So
clash damage also in that first clash was like so much higher than literally every other unit in the game. Like NVA Alina was the second best clash damage dealer, and think of the gap between those two.
right. But that was also like the first clash, right?
Yeah, that's true. But so
So it's
obviously
kind
they
of
were
like, I mean,
only
morale
competing
boosts were
against
new.
non-morale.
And I guess the difference here is that we're getting, like, Sylvie in comparison is kind of going to be a must pick for any cow and any DV in GL for the foreseeable future. Like, and
mean,
we know that there are units in JP as of this date, that, like today, that don't creep Sylvie. So it's powerful. It's
very
powerful.
good.
no, that's true. Sylvie is powerful, but I think I'm at a point where it's like we're getting cow bosses probably tuned for Sylvie soon. So we're gonna get Plex units next month that will probably match Sylvie, and it won't look like that too big of a power spike.
Yeah, maybe
I
they
imagine
did
at
the
least.
same
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Ling,
we'll
where like Bulwark
start
came the
side
next
grading.
week or next month. I mean, right?
Yeah. Especially as 2 elements and 3 killers perfectly divides into 4 different units to cover the whole range of both.
Right. But
So
that
I
still
think
does not
this is a
change the
new
fact that in GL we have a bit of a different DV setup where our last boss is always not locked to an element or not extra weak to an element, meaning that you're
the
gonna
Vision
be
World
bringing
ones
Sylvie.
still are,
Yeah,
but yeah.
Vision Worlds are a
I
bit
mean,
weird, but Vision Worlds are also
maybe
extremely
we'll see that
capable.
change. Yeah, and also trials now are starting to actually come back with needing pretty specific elements and being actually hard to get those missions. Though, unfortunately, Sylvie doesn't have either of the right elements for Gloomwing,
Yeah,
but we'll
unfortunately.
see use on some later ones probably.
Yeah,
But let's talk about some numbers so we give our
yeah.
listeners a picture of why we're talking about this broken unit. So I guess amps are good to talk about first, right? The element support you were talking about.
The amps are like the real area where she is above the current meta, because basically she has the usual like 45% amp package for her 2 elements, which she can maintain, so that's pretty standard. Same sort of thing as Bulwark or Roberta. But then she also has 2 Grandis abilities that basically autocast an increasingly stronger amp for the party that just have 1 turn durations on each tier. So you get 1 turn of 50%, 1 turn of 75%, and 1 turn of 100% amp, which is a big jump.
And I think that's where the balance probably comes in that, like, you're not doing this OTK, you're not doing this multiple times in the, cow or any trial for that matter. You're doing it once, and you're doing it once 3 turns later. So it's not as busted as we saw it a week ago in the stream, during the anniversary stream, I think.
I mean,
It has some degree of limitation, but it's still like really, really strong.
yeah, it's like I mean, sure, you can't do it every turn, but this is a game where we burst once and we're good, so doesn't
Or
really matter.
twice for clash.
Twice for, yeah, so you're gonna wait 3 more turns before you. Well,
Yeah,
actually not, because you only care for 1 big burst. You don't care that the second burst doesn't have the 100% amp. And just
That's
to
true,
just to like put
depending
it
on
in
how.
comparison to how amps work in the JP meta, is that in JP there are now units that also have 100% amp, but these units only have a single target 100% amp that requires, I don't remember exactly, but I think it's like 4 or 5 or 6 turns or something of setup
No,
instead of Sylvie's 3.
it's the same. It's the same 3-turn sequence.
It is the
60,
same
80,
thing. Okay.
100.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
obviously
it's quite stronger, like to give your entire team 33% more damage. That's a
being
big thing.
being AoE is definitely makes it stronger. I mean, in comparison, these JP ones, or at least several of them, have a 50% imperil field as well, so they can do 185 imperil with their amp. But yeah, think Sylvie's is still in a better spot than
Yeah,
those
for
ones.
sure. I mean, we
But
haven't even started talking about the rest of the shit she has. She has,
a lot of those ones are also crowns rather than new units, though.
yeah, yeah. So and I mean, like, just a quick disclaimer, sometimes on this podcast, I've called out units to be strong. This happened a couple of times, happened with Roberta, happened with a couple of units back in the past. So, you don't have to feel bad that your favorite unit is strong. Okay, listeners? It's okay. Like, your favorite unit is broken as fuck, and that's okay. Like, please don't be angry that I'm saying it. It's just fucking true. Now, let's talk about what she has more. We've just talked about the elemental support. Let's talk about her buffs.
Yeah. So on the offensive side, to go with the buffs or the amps, I guess, is her killers, which are basically sort of somewhere in between the AoE 150 ones we've been seeing from stuff like Kaito and Roberta, and the single target 250 ones that we're now starting to see from JP units like Ilmatel. So she's got 3 races instead of 4, Insects, Demon, and Stone, and yeah, can do them both 150 AoE, 250 to 1 target, but the single target ones are 2-turn duration, 2-turn cooldown, so you can't really have them on multiple units at once. So it's basically 250 to 1 unit, 150 to the rest of the party on those 3.
And apart from killers, she is also her shift form LB is probably the strongest buffing LB in the game. Well, not probably. It is the strongest buffing LB in the game. So it's really, really good.
So yeah, that does 400% stats. So that's max level currently. 250 LB, which isn't quite there at the top, but pretty close. And then a small modifier boost to all allies for their LBs that works
including
for most damage types. Yep, it's very similar to Fledgling Warriors cooldown, but works for a couple extra damage types like morale, but it is lower for that. There's still a couple that it won't work with, like it won't boost Evoke and it won't burst MP scaling like Oliveira's shift one.
Yeah, but Oliveira is not using MP scaling in cow anyway.
He is in DV, but
yeah. One thing to note here is though that this should stack with Tyvus's boosts, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So for Sky, this is, quadruple dipping.
Yeah, kind of.
I guess, but I've seen this argument that this makes also Sky better, and in extension, Sky is still better than Esther, but Sky still has less attack than Esther, so there's that.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. Let's not fucking get into this because these units are very loved. Let's not fucking compare them. All right, Shadow.
Also, this is an added question. Does this modifier buff also work with Esther? Like you said, doesn't work with Esther because it's another.
No, it works with Esther, but she only gets like the very smallest dip from it, so it's very minor for her. Like she just gets max morale 50. So
it's not
that
huge.
boosts her from 680 to 710, which is pretty tiny. That's like less than 5% boost.
No, there is a bit of a balancing thing in her shift LB because she only gives the strongest LB modifier buffs with morale. So without morale, they're slightly smaller, but I mean they are still there.
Well, yeah, they're like it's 20 without morale, 60 with, but then morale modifiers get half that basically.
Yeah, and it's still going to be really strong. Like this LB alone is going to increase the damage of your team with quite a bit. Not even including the killers and the elemental support she has.
So she's just Fran but better. Got it.
Only thing is Fran does it for one unit.
One unit and by like 600.
Yeah.
So slightly different. But yeah.
So she's nothing like Fran. And let's move on.
Yeah. She does technically have one 300% LB buff, but it's single target and on a one-use Grandis.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, it is something for OTKs, right?
Yeah. So it exists, but it's very limited.
Yeah.
So mostly she'll just be giving 250.
A little Easter egg is that her base LB is basically what her unnerved LB was way back when she was first released, with increased resistance. I thought that was really cool.
So, we could be talking all day about her kit because she has so much.
We could talk about her card. We can
She
talk
can
about it
grant
hard.
abilities and she can do a bunch of other stuff. But hey, maybe we should encourage our listeners to, visit the wiki and read the fine print themselves, because I feel we've, shared just how
Oh, you know
broken
what? You
this
know what?
unit
You know
is.
one thing about the wiki now that I guess it's official is that slime is done. Like
Yep,
with
this
slime is
week
done.
was the
This was his
final
last.
unit page pass.
Yeah. So rip slime. Oh, not rip, but thanks slime for all the work you've done with the
We
wiki.
salute you.
For sure, we salute you. Thank you for the very hard work. Good thing is Sinzar has promised to do to do all the crawling from now on, so that's good.
Sins are already crawls in my bed though.
That was a joke, by the way, because that we did in another episode, so people don't get angry and post at Sinzar for not updating the wiki. Okay, so Dream, like you mentioned, other units.
Oh yeah, okay. I guess we've run out of time for Sylvie, but you keep doing you, girl. So the other big big new unit is obviously our lizard man Wilk, aka Mylk.
Yes.
For cow.
Yes, Mylk for
Let,
the cow.
let me explain it let me explain the joke so it's no longer funny. Thanks, Dream. Yeah,
Honestly, when I
milk
first called
cow.
Mylk, I didn't even think of the cow pun.
Oh, really? I thought that was like why people were calling him milk the whole time. It's like,
Probably why other people actually decided to run with it, but when I started it, I did not have that in mind. Full disclaimer.
all right, so milk. He's a TDH damage dealer that does big dick damage.
Basically an unholy fusion of Lara and Carton, but better.
In
No,
every way.
I love how somebody pointed out that this is when Laura, Carton, and Esther decided to have a threesome, and then that's the result of Wilk.
Ugh.
I don't really see Esther in there, to be honest, in more ways than one.
Yeah,
But,
he's not a
yeah,
tank. He does damage,
It's
I
the
guess.
extreme Nova. It's the extreme Nova LB chaining.
All right,
But
right.
I do get
one
why people
frame.
say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our next 90% breaker with the damage to match. I think the Lara comparison is really apt in this case.
Yeah, I think Lara is what he inherits most from.
He
But
does have
then,
like the berserk
yeah,
stuff that Carton has, of course. So I understand why people do that comparison too. So Dream, since this is a like Muspel would put it, a boring damage dealer, can you tell us a bit about this boring damage that Wilk brings to Cow?
basically. I mean, as you mentioned, one of his big draws is having a 90% defense break available in both modes, so he
Ah,
will come to basically every DV fight, even without his damage, which is massive.
massive.
And then
Especially for
as a
people
damage,
that don't have like Locke or Lara.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
and I guess, but that's a bad comparison because Locke is doing no damage on his own. Lara is doing very little damage on her own. Where Wilk, I mean, he's not the
it's
best damage dealer in DV, but he can still hold his own.
he's pretty up there, to be honest. He's
He
probably
is.
top 5 right now.
Yeah, I just saw the 300x LB, so I thought it wasn't maybe
Oh
huge.
no, it's more than that.
Okay. Well,
Because
tell us. You're
yeah,
you're the math bitch. Let's go.
I'm trying to get there. Like, in terms of self buffs and stuff, he is fully sustainable with like the 60% amps we've seen on Lara and Esther for both wind and earth, so he can easily switch between those. He attack buffs himself at 350% and 400 on one of the grandest. But he does strong weapon imperils for both weapon types he uses, axe and fist, up to 35%.
Mm,
So that's top tier as well. He
fantastic.
self he self buffs 4 killers for himself up to like 250% and can AoE buff some of them by 200 in case you needed extra.
Mm.
Um,
Like, this
what
is what
doesn't he do?
damage creep looks like. All right.
He has passive Omni killers of 100% for all his non races and caps his his 4 preferred ones innately.
Yeah.
He
This
do
unit
he
is
has
just fun to look at in the wiki. Like,
yeah,
I was saying, I was just mentioning how Sylvie is going to be hard not to bring to trials. Yeah, like, good luck doing a DV without this fucker.
I do love how they implemented the STMR design. I know Dream was going to get to it, maybe, but like the STMR is basically 2-in-1, and the 2-in-1 also creates a two different kit. Well, not two different kit, but two different elements in one kit. So I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, he can swap his STMR between an axe and a fist to use whatever weapon in peril or whatever he wants, and depending on which one he has equipped, will affect some of his, like which Magnuses are unlocked and stuff. So some of them will favor one race or two races in one element, and then some will favor the other two.
And this will be a bit messy to figure out in game, so I recommend everyone to look at it in the wiki to really know what's happening where. Although it is fairly simple, I want to say, like it's really axe has axe stuff and fist has fist stuff.
Basically,
fist is wind, axe is earth.
Yeah, axe, earth, human, dragon, wind, fist, demon, insect.
Right.
That pretty much sums
Did you also mention his really big mitigations, by the way?
Oh yeah, he's like stupidly self-bulky as well with mitts and buffs and stuff.
He also has this weird thing at EX2 where he auto buffs the whole party, auto LB fills the whole party for 10, which is not seen ever.
As a preemptive.
Yeah.
It's
super nice. Again, like that's also something that's nice for OTKs and stuff.
Yeah, and then so for his main damage sources, the biggest one for Clash is going to be his Grandis or Magnus, whatever. It's a recharging Magnus, the one that has the 90% defense break on it and the Berserk. So that's like basically got a 2600 something mod or 2550 mod with 900% attack buff, and that extra attack, especially as he basically has the highest base attack in the game right now, does a lot of work. And that's kind of where the Carton 2.0 comes in with that, because that's a triple bolting chain.
Right. One thing that's maybe different from Carton is that, so one thing that Carton was really used a lot for is his power in the first turn clear, because like he could get all that power at once. So Mylk can't actually. He will need to use this on turn 2, right?
Yes, because compared to Esther, the difference with his recharging Magnus is it starts at 0 charges.
Right.
So you have to use one of his other Magnuses to charge it first.
So,
and you kind of want to do that anyway, because that's also where his big weapon in peril is.
Right. So what's the damage? What are we looking at? Let's compare to who was our previous top, or actually I guess maybe Roberta's top now with variance.
No,
I don't think so. No, Roberta's mods aren't really high enough.
Okay.
I think
Angela's still the strongest. So
I'm talking about Cow.
Oh, in Cow?
For Clash, he is about the same as Esther, supported by Sylvie. Olivera and Ibarra can get higher thanks to magic store buffs from Darkrain's TMR, but they are both locked to dark. So for any other element, he is basically sharing that kind of number 1, number 2 spot.
Yeah. So with all the gear and everything, is Esther still about 2,000 billion? So like whatever, 2,000 above Mylk, but they're probably in the same ballpark within Cow.
Yeah, it's only like probably like a 5% difference between the two.
It's not that huge.
That's Esther with Sylvie on the team as well. Esther without Sylvie is definitely weaker than him.
Oh yeah. And the fact is that Mylk also, like, he has 90% breaks. That alone will get him on Cow team. So,
and he's elementless.
Not
like,
yeah.
For DV.
There's a weird thing where, this is a DV thing, but in DV, Kane is still stronger than both Esther and Mylk. So I just want to say the Kane train is still pounding hard, like months in. So Kane train.
You've got retard, but yeah. But and for DV, speaking of it, his best damage source will instead be his shift LB. You originally mentioned 300 for that,
right?
But because he has a 50x mod boost on his base form Grandis, that boosts his shift LB to 401 normally, or 450 against dragons.
Oh, okay. That is top tier as well, actually. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, this anniversary is really going in the spirit of, wow, these units are so fucking strong. Why are you not bringing them, basically?
Yeah. These are very top tier units.
The only thing I would
Undeniably.
add is that Mylk is a premium unit versus Paladin Sylvie, who was just a regular unit. So like when you're pulling, you have to realize that Mylk is like a 60k investment versus Paladin Sylvie, which is like a 40k, 48k investment.
48k. So it's only like not that much more. It's what, 25% extra?
But at the same time, when you pull on Sylvie, you get that busted ass materia. So like you probably
Yeah,
want
that's
that
true. The
materia.
armory summons are handy.
So
Right. So like very, very strong. Very,
Yeah.
very strong.
Yeah.
But maybe we should also talk a bit about Esther then. Or is there something we're missing about
I think
Mylk?
quickly, like we
the Mylk
we didn't
card.
really talk. Yeah, we didn't really talk about the gear, but I think we can just mention both of their cards also have a new thing of filling morale every turn as a passive, and it's like just a little bit per unit on the team. But Wilk does like 350 per turn with a full team of alive units. Sylvie's is like 175 because it's non-premium, but that's a new mechanic, and that'll help your team kind of keep their morale up.
They really want you to pull for these units. Like they really, really want you to pull for these units.
Yeah, obviously it's anniversary.
Yeah, like oh my
This is
god.
their big payout of the year.
It's like, we shit a lot on ALIM design and for good reason. ALIM units are boring and flat and very single minded. But like this is the other extreme of the spectrum where like these units have no weaknesses
Yeah.
and you will just be bringing them if you have them, which is, I had this big rant in Discord before and we're not going to get into it on the episode, but that's also boring in a way. Like there is no choice here. Like these units, you're bringing them. They are that strong. There's no reason not to bring them.
So, I'm pretty sure we're almost half an hour in and we still have like a ton of stuff to cover. So
Yes. That's why we need
please
to
start
hurry up because
speeding
I
through
will
this.
soon collapse in my chair from sleep. So, what more do we have?
Esther upgrades.
So yeah, we've touched on Esther upgrades a bit. So she basically got her LB has an added morale component now. So including her grandest buff, it goes from its 375 base it had before up to 550, and then she has a passive from when Sylvie's in the party that will buff it by another 100 base and an extra 30 morale mod at max morale. So that gives her 475 in DV and 680 in Clash at max morale with Sylvie on the team.
And if you're thinking,
That-
but that's only if you can fit Sylvie, yeah, fuck you, because you're fitting
you have
Sylvie.
Sylvie on your team.
Yeah.
Sylvie and Mylk also have this thing on their TMR abilities where if their TMR ability also activates when you equip a VC. I don't know if that happened before in any GLEX units. Do you guys?
I think most of the global exclusives, like all the fan design ones, had that. I think.
Esther didn't have it, so I just assumed that some.
Well, that might. I wonder if that's because she was premium or something. But yeah, I do remember all the fan design units had that.
Okay, no, that's a clever way to circumvent not wanting to
That's
keep
neat.
TMR.
Yeah, but like you're using the STMR anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Most of these, it's a moot point because most of the units are using their STMRs. Like it's very rarely they're not.
But yeah, so Esther with Sylvie, pretty top dog now.
Yeah, very,
Her
very
card was
strong.
upgraded, by the way. Her card
And not
was
just
no
very
longer
strong, but
upgraded.
like usable in all parts of the game that matters right now.
Yeah.
I mean, even if, and this is a big if, but even if, you're not using Sylvie for elemental support, like Dream, you just mentioned a trial, right? Just Sylvie and Esther together are so strong that and the rest of the stuff that Sylvie does, that she's just worth bringing anyway.
Yeah, certainly.
Did we talk about Esther's card?
Oh yeah, that got some slight upgrades now because Esther's card on release was like pretty obviously underwhelming compared to other premium cards, but now it kind of competes again. It got an extra 10 attack base, but you have to level it up to 2 for that because of technical difficulties. But that's just one character card. But then the big thing is it got 500 flat attack and defense for FFBE units on its level 10. So now
Right.
it kind of properly competes with like Cog and Tyvus and stuff as their cards. Sort of better than Tyvus. Sometimes still a bit more limited than Cogs because it's FFBE only, but that's still a pretty wide range.
Yeah, for sure.
The other
That's nice.
thing that I want to just quickly touch upon Esther is that her new banner is probably the first time a premium unit has come with shards in the shop.
Mm.
So if you don't have Esther, like this is probably a prime time to pull for her.
On the
Even
other hand, it takes 3 coins per 10 shards, so in terms of banner pools, they are really expensive, to be honest.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still better than nothing. So we're at a
But
point
yeah,
where
yeah, it's better than them not existing. And
yeah.
if you pity her instead of Sylvie, for some reason, she is 55k instead of the 60k of her original.
Right. And that's actually, you know what, Dream? Hey, let's take just a couple of seconds to talk about this. So, if you don't give a fuck about Wilt because he's ugly and shitty and you just don't want to pull him for some reason, right? Who
Or you're
should you
poor.
pity on the Sylvie and Esther
Um,
banner?
Probably still Sylvie. I mean,
Yes.
unless you get like 4 Sylvie and no Esther while going up the steps.
Yeah, no,
And
no, but
don't
let's
already.
pretend you didn't get any of them, right? You have to choose your pity. You only have one. So, of course, the case for
Sylvie.
Sylvie is that she's fucking broken and
I think.
really, really strong.
Well, I think my main thing I'm going for here is that I think Sylvie works quite a bit better at low EX levels. Like she's not as impacted by that if
Ah,
you're just
good,
getting
very,
like
very
one
good point.
first.
Very good point.
And
Very good point.
also, Esther won't really be at her full potential unless you also have Sylvie now.
And that's also true, right? Like if you go for Esther, it's going to be a slightly weaker unit. Although she's still very strong. Like let's
Yeah,
she got buff. She's still gonna be very strong. But yeah, for sure, like Sylvie is the one, is the prize of the banner. I'm gonna say the prize of all the banners because I don't care that much for Wilk, even though he's obviously also broken as fuck as a damage dealer and breaker. But Sylvie is really the one to go for.
The other thing to note is that Wilk banner is like 5 weeks long, so like you have
Oh yeah,
time to either
there's
save up on
some
it or
time.
just pull later.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on before I fall into a comatose sleep. What do we have more? We got some upgrades to older units too, right?
Well, just quickly, since we mentioned a long banner, I'll move this up the schedule slightly. Starting tomorrow from when we record, we also have the seasonal banner that has some old seasonal envies plus Lara on it. And that lasts also like 4 or 5 weeks and is pretty good value, to be honest, if you've somehow got spare lapis.
But again, if you have spare lapis and you don't have any of the new units, you probably want the new units.
Yeah, I mean spare lapis after pulling the new units, of
Right,
course.
right. And I'm still gonna argue that pulling for Lara, if you have Wilk, is no point. And
It's yeah, I mean, it's a lot cheaper. Like, I think from memory, because I don't have it up, the banner was like 24k or 2 random guaranteed envies that are within the pool of 7 limiteds. Get one of choice of those 7, and 100 shards of choice of those 7, plus like 5 emperor
So
cactuars
wait, you get like an
and random
EX2
pools. Yeah,
guaranteed?
it's like a lot of shards and stuff
hmm,
for any of those units for like
That's
a
actually not
decent
bad,
price point.
especially considering that Laura's card is really good, and so is Carton's. I mean, it's not as good as the premiums, but considering it's a
I would
non-premium,
say I would say the 2 wins of the pool are Lara and Chow. So
yeah, Chow for sure.
like if
And
you don't
Chow,
have Chow, this is a really good opportunity to get him.
gosh, and if you get Chow, make sure to get 2 of his STMRs because you really want more of
yeah,
them.
and let's just strengthen that one more time because Chow has shown to be such a must-have for several cows now due
I
to
think
the
they
broken counter mechanic where he fills
yeah, they
morale.
didn't really plan around his infinite counters.
Yeah. So if you have Lapis, if you're not like me and you actually have Lapis, but you don't have Chow, you need to get Chow. Like I said this in Discord earlier today as well. I have a hard time seeing Chow being crept in a in a meaningful way because he has a thing where he just fills your morale gauge alone by being
I
your
think
tank.
the only really way they do that, like creep him properly, is by creeping his bulk severely and then making things hit too hard for him to survive the turn.
Yeah, exactly. Or, add another unit with the same broken ass mechanic because they're not nerfing stuff,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're obviously, Chow, very solid choice. Sure, the bulk thing could happen, but then they would also have to release a couple of new tanks because
Yeah, so
y-
I think Chow is going to have a lot of longevity still.
Yeah.
Like I've got EX2 0 shards, and honestly, like if I can get enough for that 24k after pitying Sylvie, I'm considering it for like Chow shards, maybe a Lara,
Right. Right.
because I'm probably not going to have Wilk. I'm too poor for that.
I don't really care about Wilk myself, to be honest. But yeah, I did a full lap on the wife banners or the wives banner, and I got a soul, so that was good.
Right. But yeah,
Thanks.
I'll be doing all of my pulls directly after recording this, actually. But
Nice.
people will probably see those before this.
Good luck. Good luck.
I got 3 Esthers on the step up to Sylvie, but not a Sylvie.
Nice.
So
Yeah. Like, I'm still 200 shards away from SDEX3 as well, so I wouldn't mind that too much.
oh yeah, same. I'm only at EX1 Esther, so this was great.
Yeah, obviously. Anyway, should we get through the other 3 units and stuff?
Yes, yes. Let's. We did mention them in the news day, but let's talk quickly about the actual changes to them, right? So we have Louise up first, right?
Yep. So Louise got her intrinsic ability materia. It gives 80% magic, 80x LB mod, and 2k flat magic. So obviously best in slot for her. The LB still maxes out at 240, which is really low. You have to stack it a bunch of times, so that's not really going to be relevant still. But the 2k flat magic is enough to bring her morale chaining back up to, I would say, a serviceable level as a secondary damage dealer, if you also need some of her support.
Right. And I mean, already in a fire team, you would be using her to chain anyway, and now her
Yeah,
chains
yeah,
are just going to be stronger because she'll have more stats. She's probably going to
yeah.
hit around what, like 8 magic or something.
Yeah, I think she breaks 8k quite easily now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's like, again, if another fire week cow is reasonably soon, I think she'll make it onto teams.
And then we have Mazurka out of all
Mm,
units. A bit of a
This is an
surprise.
interesting one, because this basically replaces her JP crowns and EX abilities and other kit upgrades she got at the same time.
So wouldn't this just be inherently worse because it takes up a materia slot versus?
It's like, yes, it is worse in that way, but it is also better in some ways because her JP crown upgrade to her jump was a plus 110 and it was on her same cooldown as her fire imbue, and it was a dispellable mod boost. So that kind of locked her to fire. Whereas this is passive on a materia, so she is easily elementless on GL. And it's 20 higher mod as well. So she maxes out at 230 instead of 210 innately.
But
So
totally, she does
overall,
fall a bit short of our biggest jumpers, though.
yeah,
And that was
she has quite a bit
before
less.
Richard, of course,
Yeah,
or Ricard.
she has quite a bit less in attack than Kane or Ricard will have.
Richard?
Yeah,
Richard.
just a mistake. So yeah, a bit of a shame. I always loved Mazurka's Brave Shift sprite.
Mm.
I would have liked her to be a bit stronger, but it is what it is. She's an OP.
It still makes her, like, I would say, a decently flexible budget option. Also, especially as because this was also packaging in her EX abilities, she gets everything at EX1 still. It's purely base attack for the extra EX levels for her, which granted she does kind of need, but
Yeah, it's not huge.
yeah,
No,
it
good point.
makes her a decent budget option
Yeah.
that's flexible. And I guess one other thing is she will see slightly more future gear buffs than Kane or Ricard will, because there is a chess piece coming that gives like a 50 mod to all skills for female units only.
Oh, okay. So
That's
some
from
maybe
X2.
like, would you say she would hit harder than like the other budget options like Squall and Titus?
Probably with good element support,
Hmm.
and like maybe not without any of Ricard's gear, but if you've got some of that or like some of the future stuff, I think she's going to definitely start hitting harder than them.
Nice, not bad.
Yeah,
All right, so we have one
serviceable.
last unit that we got upgraded, right? And this one is also a bit
s-
weird.
Yep, Snow got his JP crowns despite crowns seemingly starting to be phased out.
So why
I
Snow?
wanna
Like
know-
I
I
am
wanna-
just so confused by this. Like, why did he get his crowns, and why did
I want
nobody
to know
else
the
get?
criteria that Gumi has on giving which unit the crowns. Do they just get a
Yeah.
dartboard and throw darts at it? It's like,
Their handling of crowns has honestly been so weird at this point.
Yeah, it's like all like in one way, it's kind of they're giving crowns to units that don't matter. That keeps happening.
But also, but a lot of the ones they're skipping also don't really matter.
True, exactly.
Yeah,
So
like-
it really is hard to see like what I mean.
Well,
Some
it's-
of them
it's-
they
it's
have
not-
skipped were meta for a while. You know, like Sinzar used to talk about, for instance, Noctis and Arden.
They were
But
still kind of secondary options.
But I
Yeah.
think
They
it's
were
hard
usable
to
at
say that
least.
Snow doesn't matter because, like, in JP, he mattered. I mean, the context of
Yeah,
JP, I think Snow mattered quite a bit because they didn't have Chow, they didn't have Behimi. Like,
I think,
they're
yeah, he's certainly viable. Like the big thing, the stuff, like the big things these do, because like the crown itself doesn't matter too much. It's mostly just for if you want to somehow try and do damage with him. But like, who cares about that? But he got a bunch of like just passive kit upgrades that actually help his usability as a tank quite a lot.
yeah, and help him in some areas where you don't have to spam his LB as much. Like it got a 3-turn duration now, so it's easier.
Or even, yeah.
4 even.
So
Oh, nice.
his big 90% mitigation has been upgraded from 2 turns to 4, and the big thing that makes that a lot more usable is he also got Warring Spirit, so he now starts with a full LB gauge that he can use that on turn 1 with.
Right. So a really like I mean he's gonna be mega bulky. I've seen some
Yeah.
crazy ass screenshots with Snow.
His bulk does pretty good. He's still let down a little bit by low cover mit and typed mit. Like on the physical side, he does not compete with SLB Runda. Runda's still like twice as good.
Runda is too good. Runda is
Yeah.
too good.
In terms of pure bulk, Runda is ridiculous.
Yeah.
in the realm of in the topic of in the realm of crowns, it's really odd they didn't skip Fury or Snow, but they decided to skip things like Noctis or something because they're all
Noctis,
very
Arden,
similar.
less well.
Yeah, they're all very similar in terms of impact because like Furion's impact was just comparable to Noctis, I think. But yet
They all like a lot of them became just not quite top damage options.
Yeah.
but good
Yeah, some have
alternatives.
been skipped, some have been delayed, some have been reasonably on time, I think.
Yeah. Still weird though.
Very weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snow's a lot more usable as a tank. Mostly solves his startup problems that he had
Also,
before.
I know we don't have this on the agenda, but like quickly want to interject because we're talking about an older unit like Snow. We're gonna get a UOC for NV units and UOC for shards, and people have been asking like, what's a good choice?
Mhm.
Unit is a really simple choice. You either take Kaito or Roberta. Those are the only two options.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, if you've got both of them, like the tiers go down. Tier 1 is like Kaito and Roberta. Tier 2 is probably like Frivia and Kane.
Kane?
And then beyond that, like, just pick someone you don't have for an STMR, I guess, or more shards for one of the good ones.
And then when the UOC shards, the interesting thing is there are premium units on it, so the answer then becomes just take a premium unit shard.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I'll probably use them for Esther. Anyway, to quickly, like, one last thing we got. I think we won't worry about Clash this week because we're already over time and haven't
And
done
nobody
very
has
much
done
of
it yet, right? Like
So
I mean,
we'll visit that next week. But we also got the Espaor Dungeon, which I am quite confused by their handling of.
yeah,
'Cause it's
so I don't
basically
even
got-
know what it is. What is it?
It's got like it's supposedly a daily thing. It's got 4 like split into 4 colors that each have a pair, and each of those have 3 stages that cost. There's 2 that cost 35 energy and 1 that costs 100 energy. And I only found out after, like, when I ran them initially, I was like, what is this energy cost for something that's supposedly daily? Because that's like 700 for all stages.
There's one nice thing
and
about it
natural
is that
region's only 250.
but it gives you that
288.
energy quest easy though, right? Like there's
Yeah,
sometimes a
that's
daily
one
quest
thing.
for the 100 energy. Well, bam,
Yeah.
done.
But it's like 3 times your natural energy regen or something
Yeah.
for
yeah.
a day.
So
Which is
what do
pretty
you
insane.
get from these?
Well, mostly you get big like bundles of super sites. There's some initial quest for like some lapis and ores, that won't refresh, I'm pretty certain, because that would be ridiculous. But then I found out afterwards that you only get the ores from stealing from the 100 energy stage,
Oh,
which
And I
is
bet you
just
only figured that out after clearing today.
yeah.
So
So I already missed my ores for today, and so that probably means for veterans that already have their levels maxed and don't need super sites, you will only be doing the 100 energy stages per day, but that's
right.
still 400 energy per day compared to 288 natural regen.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's
So
a way
yeah,
to
it's
sync
weird.
energy pots because, like, everyone has
Yeah,
about 1,000 of both.
I,
So
it's weird and kind of annoying implementation, but obviously it's still better that it's there than nothing.
yeah,
I
exactly.
would have preferred if it didn't require the steel and the stages were about half the energy cost. So it was still most of your daily energy to farm them,
Mm,
but not more than it.
right.
But yeah, it's they exist.
They exist. It's
Nice
a
way to
thing.
farm. Yeah,
There's
you
some
can
extra
actually
lapis if you
get,
clear them, I guess. So go do
yeah,
that.
for the initial clears.
Yeah.
Still good to go do them.
So yeah, a lot is happening this week, and I guess we're gonna be checking in next week again about the cow, as you said, Dream. Maybe talking a bit about our clears. You've started, streaming or having some videos up for trials. So maybe you can share a video with us as you're clearing cow.
Yeah, I might do. Depends whether I feel like it or not. If anything, it'll probably just be if I do a score clear at 99, I will record that once I've got it prepared and stuff.
Nice, nice.
But we will see.
Yeah, so good luck to all listeners that are pulling hard for these banners. I mean, you really should because these units are busted AF. But good luck to. I hope you don't have my luck or lack of luck. I hope you're shittering like a true Sinzar.
We'll see
dude,
how
did you guys
long it
watch
goes.
Sensar's Wilk Pulls? Go watch Sensar's Wilk Pulls, listeners. Just get
I
the
got
concept.
halfway through them just before we recorded this. Got four on banner Wilks before pity.
I know. It's so
Good for
depressing.
him.
Good for him. Good for him. Good for him. All right. Well, thanks for this week, everyone, and thanks for joining Shadow. It's nice to have a special guest sometimes.
Sadly, we couldn't get our actual planned special guest, so Shadow had to do.
Yeah,
They
it's better
settled.
than nothing, maybe.
Even trade.
Yeah, even trade. All right. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Good luck with your pulls and see you all soon.
Bye.